Welcome back, Lore Hounds. Hopefully you guys have had a chance to throw your answers into the hat for the first question, which was, why did the Geth originally split from the Quarians? Before we move on to question 2, let's check out what the fans had to say for the previous question. Why did the Geth originally split from the Quarians?
Because they asked the Quarians, does this unit have a soul? And the Quarians were like, oh, they're self-aware, so they tried shutting them down, and the Geth felt threatened, so they fought back.
Oh man, I know they started creating each other. I don't remember who created them.
The Quarians created them. Do you know why they rebelled against the Quarians?
Oh, why they rebelled? Because they saw that they had a higher learning. They were self-aware. Is that what it was?
Because they gained sentience, and they wanted to be treated like actual people, and the Quarians were kind of against treating their loader bots as people.
Why did the Geth originally split from the Quarians?
I feel like I know this one, but I can't remember it. It's been a while.
One of the whole reasons that we're doing the lore trivia is to teach people that don't know the lore a little bit more about the lore. And just asking a question and having them answer it is definitely a good first step, but it helps to go a little bit more in depth to lore. So I have Jeremy and Jordan here with me, and we are going to be asking them the same question, and we're going to be trying to go a little bit deeper than we did with just the trivia.
And you haven't heard this question yet, right?
I haven't
Jordan?
heard any of the questions.
Nice.
Yeah.
So this will be good.
All right.
We get to test his knowledge.
So the question that we asked was, why did the Geth originally split from the Quarians?
You want to ask me first, or do you want?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I'm going to have no clue. So
He doesn't fucking know, and
Okay,
I know
we were
the
going to
answer.
go back and forth and be like, do you have any idea?
Nice.
And then, okay. Well, essentially, if I'm not mistaken, trying to think back to it, because I did a lot when Mass Effect 2 came out, and I, found out you had a Geth sidekick or a Geth companion, which was the coolest thing about it, because I thought the Geth were always interesting from the first one. They weren't just these robotic, bad guys that are just follow whatever they can, but you hear more from Legion that they're more sentient than just kind of controlled by an all network, even though they are controlled by a huge giant network. Now originally they rebelled from the Quarians. In a sense, they wanted to know more about there's one of the little video clips that you hear, or sound clips that you hear of inside the Quarian ship, but where one of the Geth is talking to Quarian, and he says they say something about feeling and knowing of what feeling is, and the Quarian actually responds, your parameters are offset, you shouldn't talk like that, stuff like that. And so originally they, like all robotic races, if you will, they rise up and fight, rebel on it, but it's more in depth than that they are all connected, and that's why on a broad scale they all are connected and feel as if they need to be their own people. Now there were two parts of Geth, and Legion says we are all Geth, we are all Legion, but there are two types of Geth, that good Geth and bad Geth, and even though they may have all rebelled because that's what their core network was telling them to do, or wanting to get that freedom out. Essentially, it was the moral. Man,
so
I'm trying to
Terminator style,
sort of,
aware.
kind of, but not anywhere near that. It was more on a. It's so hard to understand it because Legion speaks the way he speaks is just so. It's difficult too, and then there's a lot of stuff in the codex that you actually have to find around that one. Was it a guest ship or Quarian ship that more discusses it? And I'm trying to think back to Mass Effect 2. That was years ago.
I think it was a Quarian ship that was taken over by the Geth.
Yeah.
But the original line was, does this unit have a soul?
Right. Thank you. Thank you. That's what it was.
Yeah. That was pretty chilling. I liked that moment.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
Tying back into what you were talking about, which was the fact that they were split, right?
Mm-hmm.
Originally, they were together as an entity when they went to separate from the Quarians, and they rebelled, and it was like they did feel, and basically the Quarians came down and they wanted to shut everything down. They wanted to destroy the Geth that were there. They wanted to get rid of it all. and they acted in self-defense.
Right.
And once they beat the Quarians refused to back down. They wanted to get rid of the threat, and they knew they had tampered with something that was huge. And so since they refused, the Geth kicked them out of their own planet. And so at the time that you're playing Mass Effect, the huge thing is the Quarian flotilla, which is a massive group of ships, and that's because they can't go back to their home planet. It got taken over by the people that they created.
So all I'm hearing here is Battlestar Galactica, which is my favorite fucking TV show. So, like, I am seriously wanting to try this now.
You need to play the game.
There is a big difference, between Terminator and the Geth and stuff, and what are they called in Battlestar Galactica? Cylons.
Cylons.
Wow. How could I not remember that?
God damn, you're the one who brought it up.
Aren't the Cylons like more? Are they like parasitic or something? Because everybody becomes a Cylon or something. I don't know.
No.
No.
Well, I think that was just a TV thing. They all were
maybe.
Cylons for drama purposes, but.
No, they basically, were, more robotic and introduced, organic into everything. So, and just out of curiosity, backstory for Mass Effect, I assume they never became organic or anything like that. They just became sentient. Basically.
They didn't want to be organic. They wanted to be just them. They just wanted to be sentient. They wanted to be free.
Gotcha.
But and going back to what he was talking about, whenever you said that they rebelled and you saw more about it, and then I forgot that actually melted back into Mass Effect 3, and going through the motion, I'm like trying to remember these things, and it doesn't click until certain images pop in my head of like the last scene where you have to choose between siding with Legion or siding with Tali, and
Spoilers. For him, anyways. He won't remember it.
Well, I mean, there are so many ways that you could go about that. But getting that, ending, and you feel like you're in the moment, so it's hard to, excuse me, it's hard to pick up on everything. And it just like one of those things that just kind of popped in my head, because you do have to like rescue all your Geth that are still sleeping down there, and that's a big turning point and stuff like that. And then you find out more about why they're there still, and it's a fantastic. The whole Geth story is really cool.
Yeah. So, I think we've answered it, but what was the answer? And did any of the people that we talked to actually get the answer from what you can recall?
Yeah, a couple people got the answer. It was a relatively easy question. I didn't want to make it too hard, especially for the first question that we asked.
Right.
But it was, why did the Geth originally split from the Quarians? And the reason was they gained sentience, and the Quarians tried to shut them down. And we definitely answered that question.
Cool.
One last thing, though, maybe more if you ask more questions, but he kept bringing up the fact that they were split, and it's interesting because at the very first time you meet the Geth is in the first game, and they're the main antagonist of the game. So like you are fighting this AI threat that has taken over the universe, and you don't know why, and you essentially figure out that there's this old race like way beyond what we understand, and they're like as old as the universe is. And they're called the Reapers, and they basically manipulated the Geth to fight for them. And so that's pretty interesting, but that still makes the Geth out to be the bad guys. But there are two parts. As you learn in the second game, you get a companion called Legion, and he is one of the Geth. So at first, you're like, why can I have this Geth as a companion? He ends up helping you. And as you get to talk to him more, you learn that there is two sects of Geth. There is the Geth that decided that it was better to side with someone of their similar nature, AI that rose to sentience, and so they decided to go with the Reapers. And then there was the Geth that didn't want that, so they separated their hive minds, and so there are actually two separate Geth hive minds.
It's kind of like a religion that basically got in the way, and that's what was really cool, is that you find that out without way down deeper into the story. And originally in Mass Effect 1 you just found out that they just worshipped the thing or something like that. You didn't know why. You thought they manipulated like everything else. So yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, at first you thought they were the sentient risen up AI that had taken over the universe, but it turns out there was an even older one that was manipulating behind the scenes. And by the time of the third game, you get to know more about Legion and get to know more about the sects of Geth, and you can choose between helping the Quarians or helping the Geth, and they can both fight for you, at the end. And if you play your cards right, which is really fucking hard, and I didn't do. I definitely got to go back and do it.
I did.
But if you play your cards right, you can have both the Quarians and the Geth help you. So
Coolest.
I mean, is it like
Coolest
a
ending ever.
is it like a moral dilemma, or you just like
It is.
What makes you want to go one way or another?
The Quarians, when the Quarians originally, when the Geth rebelled from the Quarians definitely we made a mistake. AI was a bad idea. Sentient AI is terrible. So that forever bittered them to the fact that sentient AI could actually be a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we were facing the Reaper threat, it was just AI are bad.
And you were pretty much convinced that these things were the bad guys since you were playing all the way through the first game. That's what you were basically taking out, more or less. And some parts were really annoying and frustrating. But there's something about whenever you first meet Legion, something seems trusting about him, and I wanted to trust him from the get-go, and I don't know what it could have been. What's cool is he's this one Geth. They all look the same way, but he's got this giant gouge in the middle of his chest, and trying to cover it up is a piece of Shepard, the main character, his armor. From when he, spoilers, died in the second one.
You're just totally killing the game for me, dude.
It was the beginning of the game. You're not messing to it. Trust me, that's not the spoiler.
Nice.
But he's got this thing on, and you see kind of Shepard's face when he first sees him, because he sees that, and he's just like, that's weird. That's not normal Geth behavior. So, and then you find him, you help him out, and you talk more to him. Becomes an awesome companion then, and you find out just so much about First of all, the way they speak is just so cool to kind of dissect and try to understand the way that he's trying to come out.
The Borg hive mind kind of thing.
His whole thing is that everybody's Geth. Every sentient life is Geth. Geth means sentient and stuff like that. And he tries to, that's where that We Are Legion thing comes from, if you've ever heard of that term. So it's all, well, at least that's originated from, I don't know, certain aspects of it, but yeah. But it's interesting to kind of just listen to him and try to see and understand what he says, because you kind of have to do it a few times to kind of get the bigger picture. And I think that's why I was able to do the whole ending, because I dedicated myself to that entire storyline, at least Legion-wise, because I just wanted to know more about him. He was the coolest, he was your arch enemy, except, you found out totally chill with you. Probably one of your most loyal companions too. So yeah, definitely. And I got that cool ending with the Quarians and the Geth, and it was amazing.
I'm still sad. I think I didn't do the companion mission for either Legion or Tali. I don't remember what I picked, but
you have to do them both in two, and then I think that there's some, I ran with Tali and Legion a lot, so I guess that there was something in the backstory, when they talk to each other and stuff like that. I guess those certain things need to trigger in order for you to do it.
Yeah, because they were at odds at first.
Yeah,
and then they slowly stopped being so hostile.
Yeah, and also I think you also need to make sure your Paragon's up, because I had a Paragon trigger at that point.
All right, guys, so now it's time for the second question from the game Undertale. And the question is, a monster's essence can be transferred through which method? So if you guys think you know the answer, throw it in the comment section down below, and be sure to check the next video for the answers.